Nation. I want to welcome you guys to the first episode of On the Block, hosted by the Sports Information Department and Media Department here at Jackson State University, and hosted by yours truly, the Assistant Director for Sports Media, Evan Murray. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, head women's soccer coach, Dr. Ted Flogaites. How's it going, Coach?
Very well.
Well, let's jump straight into it. You've been here at Jackson State for 3 years. You know, you coached at my alma mater, UAPB. So just give us a background on your story and, you know, what led you here today.
Started coaching a long time ago, probably before you were born, I'm guessing, right? I mean, my coaching career started in 1999 in New Jersey, at Jersey City State, and then obviously I've coached in Lamar University, which used to be in Jackson, Tennessee, and now a satellite campus for the University of Memphis. College in the Southwest in New Mexico. Spent 5 or 6 years at Hastings College in Nebraska. 5 seasons at Western Illinois University up in Macomb. A season at University of Pittsburgh, and then obviously the UAPB. And you know, I had the privilege of working with A.D. Wells-Kilbert at UAPB, and you know, when this position came open, you know, she chatted to me about whether or not I'd be interested in it. And having come down actually with UAPB and seen the whole area, right? I thought that it would be a nice fit.
Okay, and I want to ask you, like, when did you actually fall in love with the game of soccer? It could be, you know, as a player, as a coach, but when did you actually like fall in love with the game of soccer?
I mean, probably 4 or 5. You know, just doing skill stuff on my own with the ball, and I just wanted the ball on my feet all the time. And I think, you know, you kind of know right away as an athlete what you're drawn to. You know, you just keep picking up the ball, or you're around the ball all the time. And, you know, I never wanted to miss anything, and you just kind of know.
Falling in love with the game at a young age like that, and you know, you actually playing the game, but once your playing career was over, what made you want to transition into actually coaching soccer?
You know, I worked a little bit doing technical recruiting downtown New York, and I had a couple of, you know, real jobs in that sense, but there was something in me that was always like, I think I should be coaching. You know, so I went back to my high school and I started coaching the boys freshman team there, and then the 7th and 8th grade team, and it just felt right. Like it was like the day wasn't complete if I was doing that, you know. So I was just kind of drawn to it, and I felt right. Like it just makes sense.
Yeah. So you born in New York, raised from New York, and then you matriculated over to the West Coast with the school.
Yeah.
How was the culture there? Like, how was it different from going to New York and then, you know, shifting to the West Coast? How did you adjust? What was different?
A little bit different. Born in New York, but actually raised in New Jersey.
Gotcha.
I want to make sure I get that right. That's right. And then we went to the West Coast, and everything was just a little bit more laid back.
Yeah. Right?
Everything happening a little bit slower, and that was a little bit of an adjustment because I'm used to everybody buzzing around and walking and talking 1,000 miles a minute. And, it was nice. It was a nice change, right? So I thought that I'd always wanted to go out and see the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a good time to spend multiple years there, not just a week. But yeah, it was a nice change. And then towards the end, I was kind of itching again for pace. You know, things happening very quickly.
Okay, and then you have been you know, involved in a lot of different programs, you know, soccer programs, this, that, and the third, and now you're here. It's your 3rd season with your own program. What are the pros and cons, and what is something that has been instilled in you that you still apply, you know, to today? Some pros that you learned, you know, over time, some cons that you learned over time. You feel like it was a learning experience for you. What is something that you learned from all of the programs that you did?
I think you always got to remember that no matter who you're coaching somebody's daughter or somebody's son, right? And you want to always keep in the back of your mind that that's somebody's child that you're talking to, and I think that's really important, right? The other piece is, if you have 30 players on a team or 25, you can't coach every player the same way. You know, maybe that worked years and years ago, but right now everybody has different motivations or different psychologies that work for them. And, you know, for our team right now, we have 36 players, and they all need motivation a little bit different way. And part of my job is to develop the relationships to make sure I understand what each player needs, because, you know, what Michaela needs is different than what McKenna needs. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And to also remember that everybody comes from different areas. When you come from different areas and different backgrounds and different cultures, it doesn't mean we're all automatically going to understand one another, right? So I think as a team, when you're a younger coach, you make the mistake that when you put everybody in a room, that you're going to be a team. That's not the way it works. Like, you have to work at that team process and work at team building and kind of really unearth, you know, what's someone's character. Because if you come in on day one and you present a certain way, in 3 weeks we're really going to know who you are. You know what I mean? You can't hide over time. Like, when we see you in training, when we see you interact, and I think the character piece is really important, right? So for us, like, we try to err on the side of great characters and great people even before they're great players. It tends to work out like that someone that has great character tends to be a great player, and part of that is because they don't shortcut the work, right? So we really try to spend a lot of time looking at intangibles, like, are you a competitor? What kind of human being are you? Are you interested in the truth about yourself and about others? And I think when you get a lot of the intangibles right, it's much easier to coach those same players, right? Because if you can look at a difficult personal truth, it doesn't really sound offensive when I say you need to be a better passer.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think we really, like, for me, the real thing is always look at the human side of what we're doing, and to know that players also want to enjoy the game because their career is short, right? So we want to create something that's enjoyable, that you're proud of being a part of, right? And very, very few players go professional, so we have that in the back of our minds, right? And we want someone that goes, when they put on our jersey, that's a real sense of pride.
Absolutely. You talked about, the human side, the human side to it of everything. Like, with you being a father, what is like, you have to serve as a coach, a mentor, et cetera, et cetera. What is a success story to you when you get these athletes in, they get here, they come here, of course, for the degree and their playing career, but what is a real success story to you when you are bringing an athlete here to JSU for your program?
I think it's a great question. I think a success story is not found in statistics or wins and losses, right? I think a success story is someone that came in with low self-belief or self-confidence, and they're leaving with a lot of self-confidence, or they leave with a lot of self-belief. And then the academic piece is not to walk across the stage and get a degree, but to walk across the stage and have earned a degree, right? Like, if you take straight D's and you get a degree, that's not the same as someone that's really putting a lot of time and effort and walking across the stage with A's and B's. So I think that it's really, what I say to our players all the time is it's about development. Like, when you arrive on day one as a freshman, if you're the same person when you graduate on that day, the whole institution's failed you. We failed you, the professors have failed you, our sports program has failed you. Like, the whole thing is, you've got to be different when you're graduating 4 years later. That's real evolution, right? So I think that's when I look at it in terms of success stories. Like, if somebody came in really kind of immature, or they came in lacking in certain pieces, if they have those things at the end of the day, we've done our job as an institution, and as a program. Because I think even here, you've got so many great coaches that every program emphasizes something different.
Yeah, right.
Right? And then we also have commonalities at the same time.
Right. So you talked about it's not wins and losses that define, whether that is a success story to you. What is something what keeps the excitement within your program? You don't want to just stress on, let's put dubs in the dub column, let's put L's, me personally, I don't look at L's as loss, I look at it as lessons. Because every loss is a lesson, you learn from it. But what keeps whether winning or losing or, anything, what keeps the excitement in your program, and what's something that you like to do?
Well, let's get it straight. We do like the dubs, right? Let's not avoid that we don't like those, but we do. But I think it's just, when players are excited to play. Like, coaches don't want to coach unpassionate players, right? And I think sometimes when people get to this level, and it's the top level, your work starts now. Like, people arrive and they're kind of like, oh, well, I've arrived at the Division I level. Like, can you stay here? Right? And just because you're in a uniform doesn't mean you're actually contributing, like, in the match, right? So it's like, for me, it's the evolution of our program from when I've gotten here to where we are now. The training sessions are of a higher quality because we have better players, right? Our ability to take on certain challenges and deal with different stresses is because we're trying to look for better character all the time. So I think it's exciting to see where we were and where we are. And the big piece is, and this is a SWAC piece, right? It's on the women's soccer side, we're not just playing for wins and losses, like, we're playing for the respect of the SWAC, right? We want to go out and we want to beat non-conference teams, or at least be very difficult to beat on a regular basis. And I thought we really struggled with that in 2019 when I first got here. And I think just the last 2 games we played in the last week have been much more competitive, right? And you can see how much different we are. And that gets me excited, right? Because I think we're going in a direction that I think is really good,
Okay, so then speaking of, like, you coming from, you got here in 2019 and you play a season, then you get here, and then you had this unprecedented semester where, COVID hit, and boom, you don't play in the fall, you play a spring season. You play a spring season, you make it to the SWAC tournament again, and then boom, you have a quick turnaround here, and boom, we already back at it. You got 2 games, under your belt. Yeah. Talk about how the journey has been, how many sacrifices you guys, have been willing to make, and just how has it been for not only you and your coaching staff, but for your girls as well?
I think the spring semester is extremely difficult for our student athletes because of the storm that happened, and water issues and things like that. And really, people don't realize that as an outdoor sport, we were training inside all the time, right? So now you've got a really narrow area. We're used to giant areas, but then we're playing outside in giant areas. So we had to train in a tight space, but we're playing in big space. We couldn't get on our own field. We're only on it twice, right? So like there was a lot of challenges in the spring, and very, very difficult in a lot of ways, right? Because I think with COVID and you know, people spending a lot of time indoors, it wasn't just about playing together again. It was just about learning to socialize again, right? Because people had been in the house for a year, like years in there. It's a really long period of time. If I'm 18, 19, 20, 21, I would have lost my mind, right? So you could see that sometimes, like in initial team meetings, it was like, well, I can't believe I'm in a room with all these people again, right? Where you're just used to maybe you and your family, or you and your brother, or you and the dog, and what it is. So I think that was the major challenge, and then there were so many things that were popping up in the spring that it was just hard for us to kind of maintain positivity. So I thought that the resilience that the student athletes showed was really phenomenal. And from my standpoint, it wasn't so much about let's go win a title. It was like, can I help us re-socialize? Can I help us feel good about ourselves again, right? Like just kind of come back into society a little bit. So I thought it was really difficult. I didn't really mind the spring tying into the fall because it kind of gave us a little bit of continuity because we've been away from training almost a year, right? So I thought that piece meant that we weren't getting the preseason all rusty. You know, it was kind of the short turnaround maybe almost worked in our favor. So I think from that standpoint, that's been nice, and you know, onward we go. But we still, obviously, we've got to be wary of the Delta variant and COVID's still happening. We can't act like, you know, that's buried in the past because it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you talked about how you have a bigger team this year. You have, you know, things you can do more things with more people.
Sure.
So give us a little, you know, insight on some of your key returners and, you know, some of the new players that are actually going to be standing out there this year that you have really good faith in.
We've got a lot of good players, a lot of great returning players. The one piece I would tell you is because we have bigger depth, we can do things that we weren't able to do in training. We can consistently play 11v11 in training. My first year here, that was almost impossible, just because of the size of the squad and the amount of injuries. So Olivia Cobb's a new player out of North Carolina, very, very talented, huge engine, recovers and helps us. You know, and I thought her debut match against McNeese was really one of the best debuts I've seen maybe in 20 years, which I thought was, you know, some performance. And then you've got two talented, you know, well, we've got four, but we've got three really talented goalkeepers. So you've got, you know, Cora Fry, who's a newcomer from Washington, and then you've got Tiana, who's from Arizona, and she's a transfer from the University of New Mexico. And then you've got McKenna, who's out of the Houston, Texas area. And so we didn't really have healthy goalkeeping last year. You know, that was a problem. So Jordan Hamilton tore ACL when we played Grambling last year. You know, so we were down at one stage to one goalkeeper. So I think we've got healthy goalkeepers. Our injuries are limited. We have Marley Thompson back. So Marley, we lost in the first game last year against Alcorn. 70 minutes into the game, that was the end of the season. So, you know, we had a lot of players that last year had to play in different spots. Like, to be fair to Bryn, like Bryn's a junior. We played Bryn in the midfield and we played Bryn as a center back out of necessity, but now she can play up front. So we have the luxury of playing players in positions that they were actually recruited to play in, right? And that makes us more formidable, right? Like we've got AP on the right, so Ayana Pinder, right? And she actually came to us as a left-footed striker, but she's fit in naturally as a left back, right? Which gives us the luxury to play Kaya on the right side, Kai Smith, who's been tremendous for us for 2 years, and that's allowed us to put Sydney Wilson centrally with Marley Thompson, and now we've got a really good back line. Kyla Sands, we didn't have her last year because she took an injury, and she's played 2 games as a holding midfielder. She's been brilliant. She's a kid out of California. So, and I think attacking-wise, we have spoils of riches. So you've got Maya Thompson up front, you've got Annalise Brunson, you've got Kalia Rahara up front. Like, we have Ziggy who can play all over the place. And I hate when these questions because then I'll miss somebody and I'll feel bad when I go back home and go like, if I had said this and this, right? But we've got so many good players right now that's making the quality of training really exciting, you know. And I feel like we're really dangerous going forward. So in both games against McNeese and Jacksonville, even though we didn't score, we created chances to score. Right now, we just got to arrive and put those away. So for us, it's just kind of figuring out, like, you know, how do we move better as a team to eliminate some gaps. But other than that, man, I'm really excited. We've got, you know, then you're going to have a player that's going to turn up that's going to you're going to have to use them in a game in a different spot and go, wow, I never thought of this idea, right? And they're going to shine in that area. So that's what happened last year when we went to Texas Southern. Kaya had to come off with a shin injury, and we put AP in the left-hand side, and she started every game the rest of the year. But up until that time, in my mind, she was a striker going on up front. But now she thinks she's a left back, right, which works out great for us and works out great for her. So I just think it's a deep team, and it's very competitive. So right now it's, if you don't train well on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be tough for you to play on Friday. And we didn't have that in 2019. We didn't have that in the COVID season because of how many injuries there were. But now we do.
You talked about having this and having a lot of great players. You actually have another addition to your coaching staff, Coach Brian.
Yep.
He was a phenomenal head coach at his community college that he coached at. Just talk about how valuable he's been to the team, and what is he gonna do to help you elevate and get the team to the next level?
Well, Cole's been a nice piece for us, right? Like he loves the game first and foremost, right? He's a student of the game. He enjoys watching video and analyzing. I think just from that standpoint alone, the hours he's put into breaking down film and highlighting stuff for our players and trying to he's really focusing right now on triangles and diamonds and making sure the shape of the team is good and providing visuals. And I think he's he's also got a nice calm approach when he's doing stuff in training. And I think he's also a great recruiter. And anybody that runs a team, you don't really run it. Like, you need everybody to help you run it. You know what I'm saying? So I think the nice piece is I can trust him with a lot of things. I can trust Soraya with a lot of things, and we're trying to really work as a staff because you can't run a team by yourself at this level. So I think the energy he brings first and foremost isn't just energy, like it's really positive energy, right? Because like I tell my team, that's a choice. Like I can walk in and bring negative energy somewhere, I can walk in and bring positive energy somewhere, but it's so interesting that how many people gravitate towards negative energy and they forget that positive is a choice. So I think every day he chooses to be positive, and so does Soraya. And right now we're really fortunate to have the staff that we have.
Absolutely. You talked about how great he is with recruiting. What is something that you look for when you are actually recruiting an athlete? What is something that you look for when you recruit an athlete before you know that they can be an asset to your team? What is something that you look for?
You mean when I'm just watching him for the first time?
When you just watch him for the first time, something that you want an athlete to be off the field before you can actually coach them on the field.
Well, I won't really know until I talk to them,
Okay.
right? Because I think once you speak to somebody, like, you feel character, but I really watch what somebody does when they don't have the ball, right? So initially, like, someone might be like, that person's great at going to goal or scoring goals, but I really try to take note of what's the work rate like and the effort when the ball is not at their feet, right? Because that really reveals, like, do I want to help my team? Do I want to work off the ball? Am I a lazy player? Am I selfish about I'm only working when the ball comes to me? I take note of that. I pay attention as to whether or not someone's on their cell phone 5 minutes before a game, right? Like, are you on the bench while your coach is talking still on their cell phone? That's a bad message to me. When I walk by and someone is stretching or they're with their team, like, what kind of language are they using? How are they speaking to their teammates? Do they respect their coach when their coach talks? Because if you don't have those things, people don't want you anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you've got to you've got to get through those kinds of tests before it's like, well, can I hold the ball? Like, look, because anybody can be good in training, right? But you've also got to be good in the match. So now we've got to find players that are able to hold on to the ball when there's live pressure, right? And then it's not just can they hold on to it, what's the decision making like, right? Because I think what happens is every time you go up a level, not just everyone's better players and better athletes, but it's the two variables that get negated are there's less time and less space, right? So you've got to be able to deal with less time and less space, and now your decision making is narrowed, and the best players can deal with those things. Right, so I really look at those pieces, and the other is, are they fluent? Do they speak the language? What that means is, can they use 2 feet? Because if they can only use 1 foot, they're only 50% of a player, theoretically, right? But if I have a great left foot and a great right foot, I don't have to avoid problems. I can solve all the problems on the field by using one tool or the other, right? So, like, I think you've got to have that level of fluency at this level in order to really kind of be great at what we do.
You've already had 2 games on the road this season, and now you return home this Sunday against Lamar. Heading into this game, what is something that you are telling your girl, that we're coming home, don't worry about, the last 2 games, let's put that under our belt, and just, what is something that you have been telling them and getting them pumped, ready for Lamar Sunday?
We're pumped. We're at home, right? I mean, who doesn't want to be at home? So I think what we're trying to do is we want to make home a fortress where it's difficult to play. We want to feel like we can always win at home. We're working on some of the things that we didn't like in the McNeese game in Jacksonville. We want to tweak those things, but we're looking to put our best foot forward. I think it's going to be a great game. All of our opponents starting Sunday are good opponents, right? You've got Lamar, then Troy, then Southern Miss. They'll all be good tests. And I don't want to say we're gearing up to play conference play. Like, we want to win every match, and we feel like we can win. So I think right now it's about, we're working on spacing, we're working on being a little bit more dangerous in the attacking third. And eventually we want people to come and watch us. You know, we've got great crowds for basketball, great crowds for football, and I think we've got a great soccer team. But, you know, the more attractive we play and the better we are able to perform, I think more and more people want to come out and watch us.
Absolutely. 1 p.m. Sunday at the JSU soccer field. Then we'll take on Lamar. Please come out and support. Once again, thank you, Dr. Ted Flogaites. I appreciate you for being on episode 1 of On the Block. And episode 2 will be next week. Stay tuned.